Hello and good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Welcome to Orthodox Family Life Live. If this is your first time, we're glad to have you. Today, we're talking about the glories of motherhood. Excuse me. And um, I had a little bit of a hard time putting this talk together. It's a lot of things I've been thinking about over the years, but so forgive me if it's a little bit rambly today, but we'll do our best. So I started this live stream with the question on the main page about, as a mother, do you matter? Or do you feel like you matter to the people around you? Um, that might seem like a strange way to start a conversation about mothers, but I really believe that there's been a concerted effort over time um, to tell women that they don't matter as mothers. What you do at home doesn't matter. And so I'd like to go over that brief history for you, and then we'll talk about what the church says about mothers and how the church values mothers. Good morning, Rip. Nice to see you. So if we look back maybe about 100 years ago, there was this really important shift in our culture where people started to really lean into science, which is a good thing, right? That's a good thing. But part of what came out of that was telling everyday people that they weren't experts, they didn't know anything, and there was a lot of pride in the science at the time, and I think still is, right? And so before this, mothers were really trusted to care for their children. They knew how to handle very simple things like fevers and rashes. There was a lot of wisdom that had been passed down through the ages. But as we kind of came into the scientific age, a lot of that was destroyed through thinking that science had all the answers to things. So we begin this slow deterioration of motherhood and what they have to offer. Then we see it kind of trickle into children's literature, even back in the 1960s. And I want to share with you a little story, something that happened to our family. Good morning, Mela. Um, so our children had the book, Brown Bear, What Do You See? And of course, this book is everywhere now. Everybody knows it. Goes through a series of different animals, and at the very end, the last animal sees a teacher, and the teacher sees a classroom full of children. And it's meant for preschoolers. It's very rhythmic. It shares colors and things. Well, my kids had kind of destroyed our copy, and so we ended up getting one from the library, and it was a really old copy. It was actually, now I realize, it was the first printing or close there to the first printing. And when I got to the end, I was shocked. So the last thing the animals see is a mother, and the last thing the mother sees is a beautiful child. And this really hit me pretty hard. It might seem like a small thing, but this book is, if you have small children now, this book is everywhere, right? Every single classroom has this book in the public school system. Everybody's reading it. There's merch, there's spin-off books. But this first book, Brown Bear, was the start of it all. And the original ending had it, Mother, Mother, what do you see? I see a beautiful child looking at me. Now, they've reissued this book, certain vintage editions, but what they didn't do, they did not go back to the original artwork. The original artwork actually had a mother, one single mother with long hair, holding a child. But the artwork that they have now for this edition, because there is a newer edition in the vintage style that has the mother, but it has the very androgynous looking teacher still, and it still has the children. And so this might seem like a silly example, but it was, I think, part of the beginning movement in children's literature to slowly put the idea into children that mothers aren't needed, right? Teachers are better. I just want to say here that I have no problem with a book, praising teachers, right? But this book was originally written in praise of mothers and children, um, and that was really changed, right? So if you fast forward a few years, all from the 60s into the 90s, when I was a teenager, we had a lot of books coming out for teenagers and for young children, things like Judy Blume, Hello, God, Are You There? It's Margaret, things like this that, percolated these ideas more and more, right? Like more liberal ideas. And then we get to the 90s and we get this famous quote. Maybe if you guys are in the chats, if you know who said this, there's a very famous woman in 1992 who said, "Well, I guess I could have stayed home and made cookies and had teas, but I decided, to have this kind of power career." Anybody know who said that? I know Rip is in the chats and Mela, but she's driving. But this was our dear friend Hillary Clinton said this in 1992. And it was such a moment. It's really kind of taken a life of its own. But, the disdain that she showed even back then for women who stay home with their children, right? It's something else. It's something unseen in the ancient world, as we'll talk about in a moment. But being a child in the 90s, right, a teenager at that time myself, this was the prevailing current, right? If you decided to stay home with your children in the few years that when you would be graduating high school, you were a total loser, right? Only stupid people did that. Real women go to college, they have careers, um, they're not a slave to their family, right? There's somebody in the world. And this was what people my age, our Gen Xers, were really taught. And so as I became a mother in 1999, and especially in those first few years when I had young children, I have to say I often felt pretty marginalized by the people around me. I don't know if I had internalized all of that messaging that I received as a young person through books and teachers, and the media, that you're only somebody if you have an education, if you have a career. But I could kind of see people's faces change when they asked me what I did, and I said, "Oh, I stay home with my children." There was this kind of like, "Oh, okay," and an awkward pause, right? And that, time and time again, I just realized that, okay, most people don't value what I do here. So I had to really detach myself from needing the world's encouragement, needing the world's permission or enthusiasm, and just do what I knew what was right for our family, which is to be home with my children. Now, I want to say here that um, it's really not, it doesn't really make sense that we put this on women, right? That they're nothing unless they have a career. Because I can't really think of a more important job than the caring and raising of children. Um, let's say I'd gone off to school and become an engineer. Maybe I would build a few buildings or roads or something, right? All good and blessed things. But how does that relate, or how does that stand up against the rearing of a soul? I just don't think it does, right? And so I think when we look at careers, it's not all glory anyway, right? There's a lot of hardship there. It's not easy, but if you're not doing it for God anyway, it's just um, it's going to fall away with time. But the love and the care that you put into your children, this actually has an eternal um, ripple effect, right? In your own soul and the soul of your children and those who come after your children. So I think you have to fight the idea that the only way that you can make an impact in the world is to have a career. The impact you have from helping your children to be holy will change the world. And here I want to read from you a little bit from Metropolitan Augustine of Florina, um, who talked about how to change the culture. And this is a really big discussion we're having right now on different channels about, um, obviously our culture is in decay. How do we fix this? And there's a lot of ideas around either Christian nationalism, patriarchy, um, voting, libertarianism. Like there's all kinds of political ideas about how to change this. And there's a place for that, I think. But I do think first and foremost, as you'll see from this reading, that the answer really is a stable family life. And so this is what the Metropolitan says. Um, from ancient times, people gave great attention to the matter of raising their children, especially in Greece, our fatherland. If it gave birth to and raised up great heroes and important men, it is because there was great attention given to the rearing and discipline of the children. We see it in the oracle at Delphi. It is written in golden letters in ancient Greek. Quote, "The foundation of civilization is the upbringing of children." This was understood well by one of our own lawgivers, Lycurgus, who founded a society that was falling apart and took on the great task to correct it. At his first measure, he took on the correction of the family, the raising of children. One day he called on the peoples of Sparta to the city square, and they were waiting for him to teach them. He taught them not with words, but with an example. He brought with him 2 little dogs, and in front of him he placed a plate of steaming, appetizing food. At the same time, he opened a cage which let out a rabbit. What did the dogs do? One of the dogs immediately jumped at the food and was devouring it, while the other dog paid no attention whatsoever to the food and began to eagerly chase the rabbit. It was a strange sight. Lycurgus then said to the people, "Do you see the 2 dogs? One and the same mother gave birth to them. The one little dog, however, from a young age would go to the butcher's shop and eat meat and bones, and it became gluttonous. The other little dog was taken by a hunter to the mountains and prairies and learned to hunt. The same mother gave birth, but one upbringing was given to the one and another upbringing to the other. From this, you must understand the children here in Sparta, if they get a good upbringing, will glorify our society. If they are reared in a bad way, they will be useless children and a danger to our society." They listened to Lycurgus and reared their children with great discipline. After this kind of upbringing, those great measures taken, those children became the great heroes of Thermopylae. They are the ones that said, when they were surrounded and commanded to surrender, "If you dare, come and take it." I really love this reading. It just, our good Metropolitan here shows the wisdom, even from the ancient Greeks, right? That it really begins in the home. If we want our society to get better, it begins in the home, and it begins with the upbringing of children by the mothers, right? And that these children, if they're raised correctly, if the time is spent, right, if we take that job seriously, then we have these great heroes of faith. There's one other small section here where he speaks directly to mothers. "Mother, take your child and kneel in front of the icon of Panagia." This is the Theotokos. "Take his little hand, that little angelic, innocent hand, and teach him to make the sign of the cross. Mother, in this way you will not be forgotten. The child could go to the best universities of Europe and America, and he will forget many things, but you he will never forget. Even if he becomes faithless and an atheist, still he will remember that blessed hour when his mother put him in front of the Panagia's icon and prayed. Yes, 100 teachers and 100 professors are not worth one mother. Give me mothers like the mothers of our ancestors, and our country would change. The change won't come through plan A or B. The change will come through godly rearing of your children, feeding them with Christian nutrients." It's a beautiful, beautiful homily here. I read the whole homily on my channel if you'd like to go and listen to it. It's Parents Attend to the Upbringing of Your Children by the Metropolitan Augustinios of Florina, who I believe died, I'm not quite sure how long ago, maybe early 2000s, but just tremendous homily. So let's talk more about what the church says about mothers. The church has always been very pro-motherhood. I think that's quite obvious. But what's really interesting is if you begin to do some research, you can see that many of the saints had mothers who were themselves saints. So I'm going to quickly read through a list of these, and we'll focus on a few of them. But of course, first of all, we have she who is the example of all Christians, our Panagia, right, our Theotokos, the mother of our Lord, and we'll come back to her in a moment. But we have Saint Anna, the Theotokos' mother, Saint Elizabeth, the mother of Saint John the Baptist, Saint Amelia, the mother of Saint Basil the Great, Saint Nona, the mother of Saint Gregory the Theologian, Saint Anthusa, the mother of Saint John Chrysostom, Saint Helen, mother of Constantine, Saint Theodota, the mother of the unmercenary healers Cosmas and Damian, Saint Sophia of Faith, Hope, and Love's mother, Saint Anthe, the mother of Saint Eleftherios, Saint Evolia, the mother of Saint Pantaleon, Saint Evlogia, the mother of Saint Theodosius, Saint Martha, the mother of Saint Simeon, Saint Hippomone, the mother of 8 children, Saint Julietta, the mother of Saint Cyriacus, and Saint Theopiste, the mother of Saint Agapius and Saint Theopistus. Now, that is by no means all of the mothers who are saints. And I want you to think for a minute that each of these mothers who were saints had children who were saints, right? So if these mothers had not fulfilled their role, if they had desired or to go and to have a worldly career, even if that was possible at the time, right? Then these children probably would not have grown up as saints. And if you listen to the saints who were their children, it's of course the 3 holy hierarchs who were such a gem to our church um, in so many numerous ways, right? We can't imagine the Orthodox Church without them, but they were born and they were reared in the faith by their mothers, right? And so the mother is you cannot separate mothers from the growth of the church and the life of people, the life of the strong foundation that the Lord gives us. He gives it to us through our mothers. So, of course, I want to go back to our Panagia. First of all, the Holy Theotokos, she, like I said, is the hope of all Christians, the example of all Christians. But what you see in her life is that she led a life of humility. Um, you don't see her running off to be an apostle, although there were women disciples and apostles that did go and preach. She was not one of them, but she cared for her son. She protected him. She nurtured him. She lived in humility and love and philotimo, that sacrificial love for another, right? And um, this is why she is a model for all of us, regardless of whether we're a mother or a father or someone else. Our Panagia is the height of what it means to be a Christian. Now, 2 more examples. I don't know if you have heard of a new saint in our church whose feast day, I believe, is coming up. She's not official yet, but it's Matushka Olga of Alaska. She was a native Yupik. She was the wife of the priest there, Father Michael. Matushka Olga was known for not only caring for her own children, she birthed 13 children, and I believe 8 of them lived. But she was known for caring for the entire community, both through her generous almsgiving of making things for them, of being a midwife where she delivered many, many women, helped them deliver their babies. She sent many women to the hospital who she knew could not deliver. Tremendous value in her community, right? Matushka Olga, if you haven't read about her, please look into her. She died on November 9th, and so I'll be posting about her later on. But again, think of this woman. She could have chosen to go off to a university to be something important like a lawyer or a doctor or something, right? But we see in her humility and her simple hidden life this great miracle of God that she actually became a saint. She has begun appearing to women, especially women who have suffered abuse, as she herself suffered abuse when she was young. Tremendous life, right? And she didn't give birth to this life through a secular career, but through embracing just the simple life of a mother. And finally, the last example, I'm sure you've all heard of Elder Ephraim. Well, Elder Ephraim's mother, I've actually seen icons of her, and her name was Yorandisa Theophano. And so again, if we can imagine what America would be like without Elder Ephraim and his missionary work in America, it would be completely different, right? But that work had its foundation, of course, in his own spiritual father, Elder Joseph, but even before that, in his mother, Yorandisa Theophano, who would pray with him, right? She would show patience in her family life. It's the simple It's the simple things, the things that the world doesn't um, value, right? Caring for your children, cleaning your house. It's very, in one hand, it can seem very mundane, but these women that I've listed off, they weren't just home cleaning their houses and they were praying, they were raising their children, right? Their whole life became a prayer to God. Their whole life was in service to other people. And I think this is the great mystery of being a mother, is that it's not about you, right? It's actually about all the people that you're caring for. And in that you find such great joy, and you find such fulfillment and love, and you find who you really are. Um, so again, I want to say that if you go back and you read the lives of some of these women, none of these women are foolish. None of these women are weak. They are women of deep faith, of humility, and of philotimo, and they changed the world. They didn't change the world through careers and through being a lawyer or a politician or something. They changed the world through their prayers and through raising their children in the faith, giving them a strong foundation. Hi, let me just say hi to everyone in the chats. I see Bree and Marilyn. Welcome. If you guys have any questions, it's a little bit rambly today. Um, I had a hard time collecting my thoughts for today's stream, but I still wanted to say hi to you all. So if you have questions, you can throw them out for me. Um, so to the young ladies out there and the young mothers, I just want to send you the message today of be proud of who you are and of what you do. There's no shame in being a mother. You have to learn to ignore the propaganda that's in the media, the nasty comments, the looks, the disappointment from other people. Just let it go. It doesn't matter what the people in the world think of you. What matters is what God thinks of you and your husband and your children. This is who you should be concerned about. And um, your husband and your children, you will grow closer and closer to the more time and energy you put into giving your life for them. Is it? I've been doing this for almost 30 years now, and there's nothing I'd rather do in my life. I can't imagine my life being better for having a job. And I'm not against a lady having a job, but the centrality of family life and of giving yourself to the other people in your family is so central for your salvation and for the salvation of others in your family. Hi, welcome. Welcome from Greece. Where are you in Greece, by the way? Northern Greece, Southern Greece? It's a lovely country. And I don't normally. Um, oh, and one more thing for the young ladies. Yeah, remember that your heroes are the women in the church, the saints of the church. And these list of women that I read off from the Panagia down to Eurydice Theophanou, these are remarkable women. And if you line yourself up next to them, you have nothing to be ashamed of. This is a, this is a remarkable thing to aspire to. And you should try to emulate them and not the silly worldly women that are all around us. Now, lastly, I want to switch gears a little bit and say a word to the men, which I don't normally do in my channel. I really try to speak to the women, but on this particular subject, I will speak just a few things to the men. I wish I heard more men standing up for the women who stay home. I wish I heard more men valuing women. Unfortunately, as I lurk around YouTube figuring out what the Orthodox online world looks like, unfortunately, I've heard many times a lot of jokes about women and women prattle and women having nothing to say. And um, okay, um, I don't know that this is the best way to encourage women to embrace the traditional home life that is, part of the Orthodox faith. So I would just ask that maybe the guys out there think about how you can encourage the women who are trying to do the right thing, trying to embrace a life at home, instead of some of the nasty comments I see out there. I don't know if you guys agree, you can let me know in the chats or not, but, I can't imagine saying, some of the nasty things I've heard about the older women in the church to whom I've looked up to. I've talked about Sherry, an Alaskan Native who was so encouraging to me as a young mom, a pillar of the faith. She served the church for decades tirelessly. She raised her family. She was just an incredible pillar, and I can't imagine some of the things I hear online being said to a woman like that. And so that's a worldly way of thinking. I don't think it's an Orthodox way of thinking. So maybe if our brothers out there could show a little more respect and kindness toward the ladies, maybe the ladies would soften a little too. There's enough there's enough finger pointing and uh, nastiness online. We don't really need to be a part of it. So that's all I have for you guys today. Please forgive my rambling. I'm a little scattered mind today, but God bless you all, and hope to see you again next time. Take care, everybody.